Okay, our next and last topic in the percent topic is percent increase or decrease. And this is kind of exactly how it sounds. We're going to be looking at two different numbers and determining how much percent wise did it increase or decrease. So be sure to take notes in your journal for this particular video. And at the end, there will be a few Carnegie pages for you to do as review. So the percent increase or decrease formula is calculating the amount of change, which you can see right here at the top, and then dividing it by the original amount. So change always means subtraction. Okay, so an example would be, imagine you are a store owner and you are selling shoes, right? You might go to the corner store and buy shoes for $10, but then when you sell it, you want to make money off of it. So let's say you bought the shoes for $10, you're going to sell them for $20. That difference between $20 and $10, the amount that you bought it, is what is called the amount of change, which is in our numerator. We would take that amount, which is $10, 20 minus 10 is 10, and then divide it by the original amount. How much did you pay the first time that you bought it? That will get you a decimal number, and that decimal you will convert to a percent. So I just kind of talked out the process of finding percent change, but we're going to go through two practice problems on it so that you can understand how to solve them. So let's go ahead and look at this scenario. It says that you are a store, and in your first year, you sold $93,570. Now, in your second year, you sold $149,765. What is the percent increase or decrease? So the way to determine whether it is a percent increase or decrease is you look at the first number and then the second number and then determine, did the number go up or down? So in your first year, you made $93,000. Your second year, you made $149,000. That amount went up. So that means that there is going to be a percent increase. And that is the simplest way to determine whether it is an increase or decrease. Your amount the second year went up, so it is going to be a percent increase. Now, let's go ahead and determine what that percent increase is going to be. So again, on the top, we always put the amount of the change. So the first year, the second year was $149,765, and then the second year was $93,570. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract those two numbers. Now, you may be asking, why did I put the second year first? Well, in terms of subtraction, we know that we usually put the bigger number first, so that's why I took the second year, right? The amount went up. So I'm going to take the bigger number, 149,000, and put it first, okay? When I subtract those two, I'm going to find the amount of the change. Then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it by the original amount. Now, the hard part is determining what's the original amount. In year one, how much did they make? $93,000. So what I'm going to put in my denominator is the $93,570. Okay, I've already set up my percent change formula and input my number, so now I just merely have to compute. So when I take 149,765 minus 93,570, I got 56,195. So that means that in 1 year, I made $56,195 more than the last year. That's a lot of money to be making. A lot of extra money. I don't know what they did better in the second year. I don't know if they promoted themselves better, but they made a lot more in that second year. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it by the original year, so by the 93,000. Now, our number on the top, as you can tell, is smaller than the denominator, and that's okay. When I divide that out, so again, the number on top always goes first in the calculator. Just because the 93 is bigger does not mean that it goes first. 56 is on top, so it goes first. When I put it in the calculator, I get a number that is approximately 0.60, okay? Now, this is not a percent. This is a decimal. Using what we know about converting decimals to percent, I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the right, and that means that I will be given 60%. So between years 1 and 2, my sales, store sales, went up by 60%. So my percent increase is 60%. Alright, let's go ahead and try this particular problem. So it says that a brand new Honda costs $20,000. After using it for 1 year, the car is now worth $16,000. How much did it depreciate? So a word that you might see here that you've never heard of is the word depreciation. So what that means is when you buy a brand new car, it's going to cost whatever you paid for it. So let's say you bought it for $20,000, it's worth $20,000. The minute you drive it off the lot, it is no longer worth $20,000. Imagine you buy a pair of shoes for $200. The minute someone puts those shoes in the dirt, the minute somebody walks in those shoes, it is no longer worth $200 because it's used. I would never pay $200 for something used. Would you? So depreciation is a way to put a name to that. The fact that once something has been used is no longer worth its full price anymore. So let's think about it. Does that mean that this is a percent increase or decrease problem? Did the price of the Honda go up or down after 1 year? It went down. So this is a decrease problem. Whenever you see depreciation, right? The D and the D, that means that it is a decrease, a percent decrease. So I'm going to set up my formula. It's the amount of the change divided by the original amount, and that'll give me my percent. So how much was it in the first year? $20,000. How much was it in the second year? 16. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract those two to find the change. Now, I put the 20,000 first because it's the bigger number. It doesn't matter what order you put them as long as you understand that you are subtracting them. Then I'm going to divide it by the original amount. The original amount, the amount that you paid, was $20,000. So I'm going to divide it all by the original of 20. 20,000 minus 16,000 will give me 4,000. And then when I divide that by 20, I get 0.2 in my calculator. Now, how do I convert 0.2 to a percent? Well, I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the right. Now, I only have one number there, right? But whenever we have a decimal like that, we always have an infinite amount of invisible zeros at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and put an invisible 0 right there and change that to 20%. So my car is now worth 20% less than the amount that I bought it. What I want you all to do now is turn to page 172 in your Carnegie book, and I want you to do all of problem number 2, the one that says percent increase and decrease. So it starts on page 172, and then it continues on to page 173. So go ahead and rip out 172, 173, and work on those pages in class. This is your time to ask questions about the percents. Make sure to use that formula in the back from the earlier part of the video. If you didn't copy that down, go back and copy it down because you need to understand the percent change formula in order to solve these problems.